Hi everyone, welcome to this reading. I have my crystal ball off to the side, so I will be scrying throughout this message. If you're new to my channel, my readings are a little different. If you're returning, welcome back. You know how I do. If it doesn't resonate with you, if you're forcing the story to fit, arguing with it in any way, just leave it behind for the people who it's meant for. So channel members, we will have a collective message that posts later this weekend, so definitely check that out. And if you're interested in channel memberships, that link will be in the description box below. So I'm already tuned in. We're going to get right into these cards. I pulled a few cards. I actually started recording this when I got a spam call. So that turns my camera off on my phone. So I'm just going to restart this. One of the things that I'm seeing inside this energy is that this is for a collective of people who have really been trying to work on themselves. I see that here with the Master Maker. The Master Maker came at the end of this set, but this is really kind of the significator for me about the collective that I'm reading for. We'll get to this just a little bit here. What I'm first seeing is I'm seeing He of the Fiery Sword. So there's some sort of truth, right? There's some sort of truth that's transforming. The way that we see the truth, the way that we perceive what's true. For some of you, I just heard the way that we perceive what's real is beginning to change. This may be causing an internal conflict within us because of that number 4 showing up for me. And it's that conflict before the change with the number 5. And then what we see here with this sword is we see these butterfly wings. That's the transformation of truth. It can be transformational truth. There may have been someone or something that has recently brought something to your attention that is has a very transformational impact in your life. So with this energy, I'm seeing that there's a lot of chaos that's going on. This is about ourself in some way. It may be about ourself and certain things that we engage in. It may be certain beliefs that we hold, the way that we interact with the world. But there's something here that is causing us to go within. We have the number 1 and the number 7 on the Himself card. This is the individual going within. And notice that 1 and 7, they come out to an 8, right? That's about manifesting the self. So we're trying to manifest ourself into the best version of ourself that we can. The lights on the heart, on the third eye, on the 7th chakra, this really tells me that there's some sort of divine inspiration taking place at this time. Something that maybe is information that's being given to us, and maybe there's something external to us that acted as a guide to that information, right? But essentially it's your own higher guidance that is bringing you to this. And what I'm noticing on him, I'm noticing a lot on him, there's this sort of protection that's emerging, right? This need to keep ourselves safe in some way. Maybe even the desire to fight or get kind of sassy in some way, because we have those primal things getting triggered inside of us. That's what we see here with the horns, right? Whenever we have a foundational change, we have a new belief system being, our belief system being threatened and being like released for a new belief system. Sometimes people can feel like they feel a little threatened, right? So whoever this message is for, there may be a little bit of that going on. What essentially is happening though, if you are protecting yourself from something and it feels a little bit like you're protecting the very thing that is bringing this change into your life in some way, if you're finding that you're going through a period where you're trying to protect yourself, where you're just really wanting to have no other voices influencing you, understand that in that space there's a lot of growth happening. There's I don't know if you can see it here, but there's all these leaves underneath the antlers. So it's almost as though the self is actually trying to protect the new growth. This 7th chakra star is leading to this crown of stars. So lots of ideas, lots of inspirations. But the Ra is also indicating here with that 5 and the 2 that there may be a change within a relationship, whether it's external to us, a relationship between us and the universe, a relationship between us and ourselves. There's some sort of change in a relationship that's taking place. And this is causing ourself with that beautiful crown of inspiration to kind of be all over the place, right? Angry one moment, sad the next moment, upset the next moment, or this is happening in an intellectual space, right? Thinking this, thinking that, thinking this, thinking that, not sure what we really believe at this time. This is all the process of the Master Maker, breaking things down in that alchemical way before they can be recreated, right? That's what the Master Maker does. Now, notice this Master Maker has this staff that has this light on it. He's being led by his own internal light, his own wisdom, right? So there's some sort of discernment that's taking place in this space. We have him pointing down to the woman that's sort of supporting him. So for some of you, this may be a woman that is bringing about some change in your life or that's supporting you. There may be a female in your life that's supporting you. There doesn't have to be, but there is an aspect of the feminine nature within us, the way that we show love, the way that we receive love, the way that we care, the way that we all those beautiful feminine qualities, those are the things that may be changing at this time. We may be reassessing them, asking ourselves if we're showing up in the best way, in the healthiest way, in the way that's right for others even, rather than being a smother mother, or like, being somebody who is, for example, unreliable. We may be examining those things. Again, this doesn't have to be our personal qualities. This can be about beliefs about the universe. But again, there's a heavy emphasis here on our ability to actually receive love. One thing that happens when people are very upset about their relationships, right? The types of relationships they attract, they'll push away the types of relationships that they're actually trying to attract, because they won't invest in them the way that is required to keep them, right? So for example, if you have a person who is really upset that people don't reciprocate, there's other ways that that person may not reciprocate with people that are genuinely trying to reciprocate with them. And so somebody here, it's almost like you saw something like that, or something like that's being highlighted to you, whether it's about people or it's about the way that you show up in the universe. It's very interesting. I don't think that's for everybody, but that's for some people here. Okay, we have Taitlin the Sylph, again, kind of going back to this rare energy for me. Except this is a little bit more grounded. When we get her, she has a lot of very interesting inspirations and ideas. This may have somebody kind of in their feelings right now with the Piper. Okay, and this is causing a transformation with the Death card. The element that is transforming is this, the Soul Shrinker. And so when we have the Soul Shrinker, this is areas where we self-sabotage. This can be our areas where we just want to compete and play nasty games with people, and don't even realize that we did, right? Or areas where we have some pettiness, or areas where we have this jealousy, because essentially what the Soul Shrinker has is a lack, right? A lack of love, a lack of security, a lack of personal power even. So this is something that is starting to transform for somebody here. Okay, and then I'm here and cut the deck. And this is happening by being extremely honest with ourselves. I love it when this card shows up. So this is one of my favorite cards in this deck. And the reason why is this beautiful green heart energy, right? And it's called honesty. It has this 4 and 0. In order to be truly honest with ourselves, we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and comfortable with the conflict that sometimes we have with ourselves, being able to examine those things, right? When we get into this energy, this is where somebody begins to be ready for true self-love. So whoever this message is for, this seems to be the journey that you're on. You may have been on a journey of trying to fix yourself, and then now the journey is turning into one of self-love. This is requiring somebody to do some very deep diving into the terrain of the Dark Lady. Now, this is synonymous for me with partnering, number 2 again, partnering with those darker aspects of ourselves, not pushing them away, not rejecting them. That's not to say, oh, I'm like this, right? It's to say, I know that this is part of me, I love it. Now, how do I become better? Again, how do I transform with the Master Maker? Here what we have is we have this sort of truth that's transforming something into new realizations, new inspirations, and that's bringing us into this deeper sense of honesty. Honesty and the Dark Lady are perfect partners because she requires us to be honest with ourselves. This is all that underworld shadow material that we have to delve through in order to truly transform ourselves and in order to truly heal. And one of the cards that's showing up after that is Epona's Wild Daughter. This is somebody's advice, is to really go within, right? Really spend that time going within. Very few of us actually commit to that journey, right? We'll see things and we'll kind of try to work on them as we go. Whoever this message is for, because you have the Master Maker showing up, I think that you're ready in your life to commit to going within and actually figuring out a lot of these things about yourself. It doesn't mean that you haven't done this already. It just means that this is the energy for the collective that I'm reading for right now. Okay, let's see. Where am I going? Where am I going? Okay. We're going to move these. We're going to move these. I don't want you to fall. Okay, there we go. Behind us in the past, One of the things I see is, again, the Fool. So we may have been a little naive about a particular situation. We may have been naive about ourselves, right? The Fool is interesting because the Fool represents the soul with his baggage, right? His karmic load. And on that bag in the Rider-Waite version, there's a pine cone, which represents the pineal gland. This is the center through which we project our reality, and it is being built off of the basis and the foundation of previous undealt with things. And these are things that the Fool wasn't able to deal with in previous lives. It's karma that the Fool wasn't able to clear up. And so one of the things about this that's very interesting is I'm being drawn to the crow in the corner, which represents that dog in the Arthur Edward Waite version. The dog is that spirit guide. Someone here, you have a spirit guide that is trying to help you through these things. And I think that whoever this message is for, you're aware of that. That's something that you've become aware of in recent times. There does seem to be a presence or a being that is trying to meet with you in your dream space. I'm seeing that heavily because of the presence of the dark lady. With the dream space, if you have that being, usually it's like a masculine energy that you don't see its face, you don't feel its you feel its presence. It feels very familiar. You're having conversations, usually very in-depth conversations, and you don't remember most of those conversations when you wake up. That's usually this guide that's trying to speak certain things into that I like to think of it as the pre-conscious layer, where those things will start to manifest in our life, and we'll start to understand them or have those insights during our day, but we may not always link them back to this dream, right? These are very deep, involved conversations, and they're not things that the being is or the guide is trying to program into you or tell you to do. They literally are conversations. They're little ideas like, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? The dream space is the easiest place for our guides to meet with us. It's the easiest place for our ancestors to meet with us. It is the place where we kind of remove ourselves from the density of the 3D, and we're able to reach out into other spaces. So someone here, you do have a guide that has been trying to reach you, and you may be aware of that. For some of you, this is something other than a guide. It may be some sort of shadow aspect here with this dark lady that is asking to be healed. There is this card here on the very bottom, and this feels to me like it goes on the top. This is the Devil card. This is are all the things that we are bound to in some way. Someone here is ready to release themselves from that, right? Release themselves from this karmic load that the Fool is carrying. Okay. And this is about soul healing when we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant and the Devil in the Arthur Edward Waite version, they look the same, right? They're taking the same posture almost. Exactly. They both have two people in front of them. It's the same coin, opposite sides, right? One is where we're stuck in these cycles and we can't get ourselves out of them. The other one is where we're finally learning in an easier way. So this is what someone is being brought to. It seems to be with the help of a very powerful guide here. We're being brought to a place where we start to clear out the last of some sort of karmic load inside of us that we've heretofore been bound to, so that now we can move into the spiritual learner phase, where, not saying that you didn't learn spiritually before, but this is where things become easier, right? We learn these lessons in an easier way. We start to integrate them in an easier way. I almost feel that for some of you, there is a teacher inside of your life. It doesn't have to be in that traditional role of a teacher, but you may have a friend who speaks about certain things. You may have, even readers on YouTube can be that, but there seems to be somebody inside of your life who you're receiving some sort of knowledge from, and it may be that the guide is even speaking through this individual in your life. Let's see. Okay, and then we have this card on the very bottom. This is the King of Wands. This is about, okay, so I love this, right? So let's look at this. We have the Master Maker, which signifies your current state, and then we have the end result of this, all of this, right, is the King of Wands. When we look at that, look at those two cards, right? We have this being who I feel represents this collective, has graduated and grown into this figure. This is an individual who now, that divine inspiration that they're being guided to, it resides inside of them. So they're able to make better decisions for themselves. They're able to lead their life the way that they want to live it. They're able to make the decisions that are appropriate for them rather than waiting for someone to tell them that it's the right decision, right? This is somebody who has graduated from this sort of devil energy of like that, how do I want to put that? I don't even know how I want to quantify that energy. It's like being at the mercy of, to now being much more in control. And this is a beautiful energy because the King of Wands is able to make a lot of things happen for himself. So this is beautiful for that final card. This seems to be the cycle someone's going through, or the whole process that somebody's going through here. Okay, I'm being told to pull 3 from here. One, 2, 3. Again, we have the guide showing up here. Here we have delivering news, collaboration, chiromancer. I do feel that this is twofold. I feel that this speaks about this guide that is inside of our life. They're trying to reach out. They're trying to say, I would like to work with you. If you don't have a relationship with that guide, I always recommend reaching out to them inside the dream space if you learn to work with your dreams, or inside of meditation. And then what we have here is we have the adventurer. Now, notice that every single one of these cards has a hand on it. The adventurer's responsibility and expectations. Again, those boundaries, right? What are we responsible for? What do we expect of other people? There may be a lot of themes about that going on inside of himself, the card himself, which represents us right now. Again, we had a lot of number 2s about relationships, our relationship to the outside world, our relationship to spirituality. When we have these responsibilities and expectations, it's not just in our 3D relationships, it's our responsibility and our expectations spiritually. What do we expect the guide to do for us? Are we asking the guide, what should my next steps be? Because that's not their place, right? For some very few people, it is, depending on the phase that they're currently in. For most of us, though, the whole theme of this moment, this era on earth, is about getting out of spiritual slavery, releasing ourselves from the devil energy, and stepping into this Hierophant energy, where now we may be learning from something, but we're still choosing our own footsteps. We're still making our own choice. The second part of the Chiromancer card for me is that this may have something to do with a person in the 3D. Again, delivering news or collaborating. Again, there may have been somebody here who provided some sort of insight or some sort of truth, especially since this is sitting on top of that sword, that initial sword card. Now, what I'm seeing here with the guide is inheritance and correction. You may have... okay, so this is interesting. I'm being drawn to the keys on here. For some of you, there is... for some of you, this is all about an opportunity inside this life that you have tried and tried and tried to receive, but you haven't been able to. And one of the reasons why you haven't been able to is because that door has been locked. That door has been locked behind our own emotions, our own ability to be available, our own ability to receive, our own ability to give, right? We're on the brink of learning these things, which is why these themes seem to be very important for this collective at this time, but we don't necessarily understand our relationship to it. So that's a message that's coming through for somebody. And then the last card that's going to be for this is the Wise One. This is tradition and order. What I'm seeing more is that I want to point this out. That's the last card, and that's very synonymous with the Hierophant, because this is about tradition and it's about order. There is something here that is calling you to examine the things that you have observed, not just inside of your past, but inside of your family, right? There may be something there that needs to be healed. Do we conduct ourselves a certain way that our parents conducted themselves, or that their parents conducted themselves? Is there something that needs to be healed in terms of some sort of generational cycle? If we don't necessarily want these things to approach us, we have to make sure that we're not also approaching other things in the same way, in different areas, right? So there's something about that here. There's some sort of grand lesson that's coming in, that's being learned here in this process. When I see the Hierophant, this is about a karmic lesson. This is a karmic lesson that we're stuck in. This is a karmic lesson that we actually learn. And once we learn this, we have this sort of, we have this opening up of our spirit, we have this freedom that starts to come in. And this is asking somebody to exercise a little bit of wisdom in understanding what it is that they're doing that may, or that they believe, right, that may be something that is carried over from a previous generation. It doesn't have to be there, is really the essence of that. It doesn't have to be there. Is that it? Okay, I think that's it. So I'm going to leave this here. If this resonated for you, please hit that like button. Feel free to leave me a comment. And until next time.